Welcome back. In the previous step, we created a simple limit service to pick up a couple of values from application.properties. In this step, let's start setting up our Spring Cloud config server. What we'll do is we'll create a new project using start.spring.io. So as usual, we'll pick up Maven project, Java. Make sure that you're using the same Spring Boot version throughout these microservice videos. I've used 2.0.0.m3 earlier, so I'll continue using that. The group ID, we will continue to use COM in 28 minutes microservices. The artifact ID for this we would want to give is Spring Cloud Config Server. So it's Spring Cloud Config Server. That's the artifact ID that I would want to give it. And I would want to add in the dependencies on Cloud Config Server. So you can type in cloud config or you can type in config server and pick that up. So config server is the one which you would want. I don't need config client. I'll also remove web and actuator. So the only things that we are really having as dependencies are config server and dev tools. Now I can generate a project. This would download a zip file, extract it to some folder on your hard disk, and we'll import it into Eclipse. Once you have unzipped the folder to a specific folder on your hard drive, you can import it easily as a Maven project. So file import existing Maven projects. You can type in next. I've copied it to a folder 03 microservices Spring Cloud Config. So now you can see that in here. So com in 28 minutes microservices Spring Cloud Config server. Let's go ahead and finish. This would import the whole thing out. It might take a little while if this is the first time you're using that Spring Boot version, or even if this is the first time you're using Spring Cloud. If you open up the form.xml, you should see a couple of important dependencies. Cloud Config Server is the main dependency which enables the Cloud Config Server functionality. Other than that, we have DevTools to make sure that the server can pick up changes directly without restarting. Before we do anything with the Spring Cloud Config Server, what we'll do is we'll assign it an application name and a port. We'll give it an application name of Spring Cloud Config Server. And the other thing we'll also do is we will run it on a specific port. If you look at our ports configuration, which we decided earlier, we said we would use 8888 for the Spring Cloud Config Server. So let's configure that as well. So server.port is equal to 8888. One of the important things is we are standardizing these ports just because we don't want any confusion at a later point in time. There are a lot of applications that we would be creating as part of this microservices course, and by standardizing the ports on which applications run, we make it very easy for us to quickly refer to them whenever we want to. So Spring Cloud Config Server is running on 8888, and that's the port I've configured it in here as well. In this step, we created the simple project for Spring Cloud Config Server, and we configured the application name and the server port for it. In this next step, we would create a simple Git repository and configure the Spring Cloud Config Server to pick up the values from that particular Git repository. Until then, bye bye.